to just tell you what to believe. It's a complete, silly thing to do. All right. You know, to ask you to believe me. Okay. So the purpose of this is not for you to believe me. Sorry. It's not for you to believe me. Okay. Um, it's for you to examine, examine, you know, examine these things. Okay. Examine these things. Look into it. And by the time you have an understanding, all right, in your own heart, that's you. It has nothing to do with me. Okay. And so it's a silly thing for you to believe me. Okay. Because the whole point to all of this is not to believe the speaker, all right, but to look into, you know, um, look into, you know, um, look into this whole stuff all by yourself. Okay. So you can know, so you can have a first-hand, you know, a first-hand realization or first-hand knowledge about these things. All right. Now I had to carefully, put my thoughts together. Okay. So that I don't appear to be scattered. So I had to, put down some things so that we can have something that is something that's a kind of you know um, very clear and very sequential. Okay, in terms of the thought pattern and the way we are going to look at this. All right. Now it has to do with the issue of the God ideal and the human problem. Okay, the idea of God. All right. While is God an important ideal, all right, for humans? Okay, why does the idea of God, offers a great sense of security to humans when going through, you know, um, you know, going through problem or going through life. I know you may have come across expressions like, life is, very spiritual, and we must hold on to God in order to go through it. All of that, way of thinking. All right, you see, makes the idea of God a necessity for most human beings. And so, because you really can't go through life, all by yourself, you know, according to them. Okay, but then, can we look into this, very diligently? Can we look into this very, um, you know, contemplatively? Okay, can we really examine the structure of it? Let's see, the nakedness of it. All right. Now, I will just start by reading some things. I have three bullet points, though I will read some thoughts I embedded in those points just for clarity purposes. Okay, and then I talk about it. You know, now, okay. Now the first point is this. I'm going to read it, then uh, we just look at it. Right? We as human beings have made the human dimension of the ultimate, all right, a horrible experience that we now need God as an idea or as an ideal to be able to go through the horrible space we have created. Did you understand that? Did you get that? All right. So as human beings, you know, we have we have made the human expression of the ultimate, the human dimension of the ultimate, a horrible experience. All right. That is to say, the 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 particular expression of life as human beings, all right, is almost, in fact, it's an horrible for most people, and according to their experiences, it's very horrible. It's an horrible experience for most people. All right, for most people, and the need for God as an ideal, to go through, the horrible, human space of living. Okay. Now, the point here is not about whether God is existing or not. Now, it's very important to understand that. You see, most of the time when we talk about beliefs, or we talk about, our perception, or we talk about, what we think of God, we are not, it's not basically about, whether God is existing or not. It's none of that argument. All right. Now, we are going through all of that, corridors, so as to get to you, so as to get, so as to, make you examine your own self, to make you, face your own self, to make you look within your own self. Okay. And so it's really not of that point. Okay. Now, it is not about whether God exists or not, like I said. All right. It is that the necessity of God in human space is rooted in the illusionary self-created systems of lack and greed. Do you understand that? All right. It's not about, it's not an argument of whether God is existing or not. Okay. It is that the necessity for God, all right, is based on our lack, is based on our greed, is based on our wickedness, is based on our models we have imposed on life. All right. Okay. It's based on the complication of life, okay, that came about as a result of the model or the systems that we have imposed on life itself. You see? And for most people, the problem that comes from that system is what makes God a necessity. It's really what makes the, God as an ideal, significant in their life. Significant in their life. Okay. So you see, because of this problem, because of the, the problem necessitating God as an ideal, all right, people now have a sense of courage to go through life. And so people need God as an ideal in order to have a sense of self-security, all right, in order to be safe, in order to feel safe, all right. So when you are going through a problem, all right, of course you need to, a human being would need God as an ideal, all right, to be confident that that problem is going to be solved, that problem is going to be dealt with, that is going to overcome that problem. Are you getting the the point? And so we can see the whole fear. All right. Now, there is no fear in nature. All right. Because fear is always the result of lack, what you may call poverty. If it's sex poverty or normal kind of poverty, you know what I mean? Or physical kind of poverty, poverty is always the source of fear. And there is no poverty in nature. Do you get that? There's no poverty in nature. You see? And so poverty is the result of the model that we impose on life, or the result of human systems adopted to run life. So that's where the problem is coming from. You see, it's where the problem is coming from. Okay, and so, all right. So I think the second point is lack. Now, lack isn't a natural phenomenon. All right, it is not nature in that sense. It's not natural. It is a societal problem. Like I said, God would make a lot of sense if it is naturally grasped as the very abundance that is. That is not the idea that takes the shape of the models and systems we have imposed on the simplicity of life. Can you see that? All right. And so God being grasped, all right, within within that which is, within that natural, abundance of that which is. You see, it makes a whole lot of sense. God is the nature, is the abundance. All right. Okay. So true spirituality has its roots in God or life, with no human problems as the foundational necessity. You see? So it's not problem driven, it's not problem based, it's not circumstantial. So many people's ideal of God is rooted in these illusionary self-created problems. All right? Which is ultimately the result of societal greed, societal, invented lack. Do you understand? And so, for many persons, their idea of God is sponsored by these illusionary self-created human problems. Do you understand? And so it's just an idea. It's really not the actual. Okay? And so some people don't even want to know whether God exists or not in that sense. Those fundamental questions of existence or existential questions, they wouldn't want to even probe into that, because just simply the sense that God is with me going through my daily problems is enough for them. So, all right. And so it's God as an ideal is, it's so important because of the problems, because of human challenges that humans are going through, because of the horrible human space that humans themselves have created. It makes this whole idea, significant. All right. So human problems is common to humans. So is the solution. And to approach our problems spiritually from, the logical, from the logical means is simply to shut off in silence for that natural intuitive wisdom to be the basis of action, where logicality cannot take us beyond. Even though this is rarely explored by us, however, it is still very natural to us. Okay? And so, not all human problems can be logically solved. Okay? Not all. But then, there is that natural, that intuitive wisdom, all right, that can drive us into certain action, into taking certain actions. Okay? Now, you may call that anything, all right? I choose to call it the spiritual dimension of being human. It's not everything that answers to logic. And we must be very clear on that. And that's why human intuition is very important. And humans must be taught to trust their intuition. We are not taught to trust our intuition. And you see, let's say you are told to trust the Holy Spirit and do not trust, don't rely on yourself. At the fundamental level, at the basic level, you are bringing a separation into it. But what you call human intuition is actually the spirit. It's light. It's beyond, logical approach to things, because logic is limited to time space, or to space time. It's limited. All right. And so everything cannot answer to that. And so there is an aspect of being, there is a dimension of being that transcend the capacity to reason logically, to be able to tackle problems logically. All right. So and this is natural with everyone. It's natural. It's normal. You don't have to belong to anything, to explore this spiritual dimension of being. That intuitive wisdom, that ultimate intelligence that is in all and as all. Okay? And so lastly, God has an ideal. So God has an ideal that we think we need, to go through life. Sorry, let me read it again. God has an ideal that we think we need to go through life, offers us some sense of security, which is what I've been talking about, and relief in our circumstances, but does not, please listen to this, very important, but does not solve our collective fundamental problem. It doesn't. It doesn't. Oh, God help me today. Tomorrow you are still faced with the same thing. All right. And collectively, we are not truly fine as human beings. All right. We are not truly fine as human beings. So we must not put up with the God idea that constantly makes us, escape from facing ourselves. Why? Because in us is the problem, and in us is the solution. Do you get that? In us is the problem, and in us is the solution. Okay? The moment you and I realizes this, fear ceases. Fear ceases. Okay? And you would not need an externally rooted God idea to be self-secured. Right? You will not need it. You will not need it for a sense of self-security. And so within you, all right, offers this lasting change. When you look within and see that the problem, it's from us. We are the problem. And we are the solution. Okay? We are the problem. We are the solution. And understanding this is what brings an end to our fear. And it's what brings an end to every externally rooted ideas that gives us a temporary relief, a kind of a temporary dependence. Okay? So, if the human space is horrible, we made it so. Okay? We made it so. God shouldn't be the result. Shouldn't be the result of your problem. It shouldn't be necessary because of your problem. Do you understand? Okay? And so, be grateful in God for the abundance of things, for the abundance of all that is. Okay? Let's look within ourselves, look into our systems. There's no longer working for us, no longer serving us. And then in that looking, there is change. There is the action for change.